We have a couple of things. First of all, Counselor Ripley has asked for an excused absence, and if there's no objection, then we will mark her excused. Other than that, I think if Mr. Restucci is on the call, I don't see him yet. Okay, well, we'll give him a second to log on. But otherwise, other members of council are here. We are missing 3 members of staff, 2 of them for a medical emergency and 1 for a family event. And I'm one who likes to say family takes priority, especially if he doesn't have an agenda item to have to contend with. So we're missing our acting fire chief, our police chief, and our finance and admin services director, which means 1 item is going to be pulled from the agenda this evening, and that is the item that deals with, let me get the pages turned. It's the community projects coordinator position as item K. That is being pulled because Ms. Horner is the one who is in charge of that, and that will be brought forward at a later meeting. All right. I also see quite a few people here, and I saw several of you signing up for public comment. I welcome that. However, if you are here for public comment on any of the public hearings that we have on any of the annexations, that opportunity will come during that public hearing. And so if you want to wait to comment during that particular item, then you can certainly do that. Otherwise, you're certainly welcome to make public comments during that part of the agenda. All right. First, we have someone here to do an invocation this evening. Mr. Lindy, thank you, sir. I ask that you please rise for the invocation and stay standing, please, afterwards for the pledge of allegiance.
Our kind Heavenly Father, this evening we come gathered here at the City Council meeting and ask a blessing on us during this time, that those that have been elected to serve us and appointed to serve us will be granted wisdom to make decisions in the best interest of our community. We're thankful for the blessings that we have for life, for home, family, friends, and for those who serve us and seek to protect us and enhance our way of life. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. You'll bear with me for just 1 second. I believe I also got a text from Deputy Mayor. Okay, so the Deputy Mayor does plan on being here. He is waiting to get joined in on Zoom, so he will be here electronically shortly. All right, first item of business is public comments, and you are reminded that you are limiting your remarks to the council to 3 minutes. Council may refer items to staff to review and or research for presentation at a future council meeting. And I didn't get the list. Is it up on the podium yet? Thank you, Jackie. All right, first item, our first person on the list is Deborah Higginbottom. Okay. Jim Stevens.
Jim Stevens, 328 Grandview Avenue, Sunnyside. I came in to primarily talk about iWatch. iWatch is a block watch group. It's not just block watch, it's a crime watch group and crime stopper group in our community. We've been around since 2008, and this is one of the primary purposes. In fact, one day one of our members called in. They saw 2 suspicious people walking up the street early Sunday morning. It's kind of a strange time to be there. The police were called. The police came. It was a great response. They stopped him. One of them had a warrant for his arrest. So apparently they were seemed like they were casing that neighborhood. Interesting enough, put that on posted that on What's Up Sunnyside, and there was a lot of very positive responses. I think the responses that were somewhat surprising were the ones that suggested that this was racial profiling, this was harassment, Why should you call the police if things are suspicious? This is what prevention of crime is all about. If you have a thought about that, call the police. Don't try and accost these people yourself. As so happens, the racial profiling was the two white guys, which really even bothers me to say that this deal of being a racial deal is disgusting. I think most of the people in this community, it's not their gig. It never has been that I've ever known of. And I think this is something that's starting to infest the community. That's unfortunate because as LaDon was, or as we were saying, the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God, indivisible. This is divisive. And we want to do everything we can to unite our community, not divide our community. So that's what iWatch is about, for everybody. And we really want to encourage people to join. We're trying to get a common number that people can call in and join iWatch and get one of these signs to put in their window. It's just, again, a sign of unity and we're united to keep everybody safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'm looking at the subject matter on the other individuals who wanted to comment this evening. They all seem to pertain to an annexation. Did anybody wish to speak at this time, or do you wish to wait till the public hearing is opened? Okay, seems to be the consensus. All right, we will allow you to speak during the time of that public hearing. And I probably won't read your names off, but please make sure that you speak if you'd like. You don't necessarily have to be signed up to speak during the public hearing. Just during the public comment so that we can get accurate record of who is here. So, and thank you for all of you for being here. All right, consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the following: minutes, approved minutes of the May 8, 2023 regular meeting, approved the minutes of the May 22, 2023 regular meeting. Payroll vouchers, approved payroll vouchers numbers 119315 through 119325. And wire transfers as listed for $753,655.43 for the period ending on June 25, 2023. Claim vouchers. Approved claim voucher numbers 106763 through 106806 and wire transfers as listed for $170,903.27 for the period ending on June 21, 2023. Approve the claim voucher numbers 106807 through 106856 and wire transfers as listed for $831,363.19 for the period ending on June 28, 2023. Council members, is there any item that you'd like to remove from the consent agenda for discussion? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion by Councillor Hicks, second by Councillor Beeler to approve the consent agenda is listed. Is there debate on this item? No debate. All those in favor of approving the motion as is, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. I too vote aye. Motion carries. Active agenda. Tucker Sellers annexation hearing. I will script to read here. This public hearing is being held to receive public comments and recommendations concerning the annexation of 70 Ray Road, commonly known as Tucker Sellers. The concern is that this hearing be fair in form and substance as well as appearance. Council members, do any of you have a conflict of interest concerning this issue? Do any of you stand to gain or lose any financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this hearing? If your answer is yes, please speak now. Council members, can you hear and consider this in a fair and objective manner? If your answer is no, please speak now. Audience members, is there anyone in the audience who objects to my participation or any other council member's participation in these proceedings? If there are objections, please approach the microphone, state your name, city of residence, and state your objection. The time is 6:39 p.m. And public hearing is now open. Madam City Manager.
I'll turn this over to staff. Trevor Martin, the Community and Economic Development Director, for staff report.
Mr. Martin.
Good evening, City Council. Again, Trevor Martin, Community and Economic Development Director at the City of Sunnyside. Tonight, I have before you a staff report and a resolution for 70 Ray Road, also known as the Tucker Sellers property. On August 22nd, the city council carried a motion authorizing the city manager to sign a commercial investment real estate purchase and sale agreement on the property. On February 27th, 2023, the city approved to move forward with the next parts of the annexation for the property. The public hearing tonight is to incorporate and final comments into the annexation report, assign a zoning district to the proposed annexation, and forward the recommendation and resolution to the Yakima County Boundary Review Board. After the city council reviews the decision on the annexation, a notice of annexation intention will be submitted to the Yakima County Boundary Review Board. Once the application is deemed complete by the BRB chief clerk, it'll be mailed to effective agencies and commence the 45-day review period for invoking jurisdiction by other agencies. After the expiration of the 45-day deadline, if jurisdiction has not been invoked, the BRB will notify the city and authorize the city council to sign an ordinance approving the annexation of the Tucker Cellars property. So Tucker Cellars at 70 Ray Road, it's approximately 2.72 acres, parcel number 230905114002. It's right at the near the intersection of Juanita and Yakima Valley Highway. This property is looking to be brought into the city as a commercial lot and then zoned as general commercial. Which would fit into the needs that the city has gone through to acquire this property. The future idea of this property is to use it for a fire and police substation, and zoning it as commercial would be perfect, would be just fine for something like that. So other than that, I don't have too much more. If you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer anything.
Okay, well, the next step is any person in the audience wishing to be heard on this matter, please approach the microphone, state your name, address, and offer your testimony. And this is only for the Tucker Cellars property, the 70 Ray Road. Okay, council members, any questions or comments on this item?
Long time coming. I'm ready to vote this in. This is really going to help the city. It's going to get a lot of support out there on that side of town and help with everybody's insurance rates that are out there.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments?
The substation be used by Grandview also, or?
Grandview has indicated interest in doing that, so I believe so, but I don't know if it's went to their council yet.
Other comments or questions from
Mr.
council?
Mayor?
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Not a question, but a comment. Mr. Martin, I want you to know this is one of the most comprehensive annexation reports that I've ever received as a council member. It answered all of my questions and I'm very impressed. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Mr. Farmer, you're the only one who hasn't spoken yet, so.
Well, it's we're looking into the future, and I think that's an important item to consider as we do this. I would certainly speak for it.
And I would agree with my colleagues. Mr. Bueller's comments, I think, were particularly appropriate. The substation out there is going to help everybody over on that side of town. The fire chief has tested response times, and it does make for some significantly quicker response times to emergencies over on that side of town, even into the Port District. And so that does help everybody, which helps everybody's insurance rates on their homeowners insurance, which is a benefit we don't always think about. All right. Audience members, is there any comments that you still need to make? Mr. Lindy.
I would just add that from the comments that I've heard and you know, conjecture about what could be done there, particularly not only helping that side of Sunnyside, but a cooperative effort between the cities of Sunnyside and Grandview just makes a lot of sense to me. And I just, it's nice to see those kind of conversations take place. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. All right, seeing that no other comments or questions, this public hearing is closed at 6:45 PM. All right, now, audience members, if you haven't been here for public hearings, this is going to seem a little bit strange because we open and close each one individually, and there are 4 of them this evening. So it will be one after the other. And so moving on to the next one, and look at the agenda to make sure I read it appropriately.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I would like to vote on each one separately.
I agree, Mr. Mayor. I think we should vote on each annexation separately.
All right, you know what? You guys are correct. I stand corrected and appropriately so. One of the risks of being one of 4 mayors serving on council at the time is the other mayors tend to know some things that I don't catch all the time. So very good. Council members, on item B, the Tucker Sellers annexation, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'll, if the member would allow, I'll go ahead and read the motion the way it's supposed to be read for legal purposes. I move to approve a resolution authorizing for the annexation of parcel number 2309005-11402 with the zoning of B2 general commercial. And prior to the city council taking final action on this annexation, the notice of intention is to be completed by planning and community development supervisor and submitted to the Yakima Boundary Review Board for a 45-day review period.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Beal, are you willing to second that? He did. Okay. Mr. Restucci read it as a motion. All right, we have a motion by Deputy Mayor Restucci, second by Councilor Hicks to approve the resolution as read by Deputy Mayor Restucci. Vote on this item. Hearing none, all in favor of approving this motion as read, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I also vote aye, motion carries. All right, item C. And I'm always going to read this name wrong, and I apologize. Euredia? Am I close?
I wanted to say it's Eureka.
Okay, Euredia annexation public hearing, and I do apologize for that. And again, with the script, the purpose of this hearing, this public hearing is being held to receive public comments and recommendations concerning the annexation of the Eureka property. The concern is that this hearing be fair in form and substance as well as appearance. Council members, do any of you have a conflict of interest concerning this issue? Do any of you stand to gain or lose any financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this hearing? If your answer is yes, please speak now. Council members, can you hear and consider this in a fair and objective manner? If your answer is no, please speak now. Audience members, is there anyone in the audience who objects to my participation or any other council member's participation in these proceedings? If there are objections, please approach the microphone, state your name, city of residence, and state your objection. The time is now 6:49 PM. The public hearing is now open. Madam City Manager.
And we'll turn this over to Mr. Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Good evening again. Very similar to the last one. This is start with the summary and then jump into the staff report. On February 27th, the city of Sunnyside approved to move forward with the next parts of the annexation for the property, which includes a public hearing, a city council recommendation and a resolution to forward the application onto the Yakima County Boundary Review Board. The public hearing tonight is to incorporate any final comments to the material that will be sent to the Boundary Review Board. And after the city council reviews and makes a decision on the annexation, a notice of an annexation intention will be submitted to the Boundary Review Board. And there will be a 45-day comment period for any jurisdiction or for invoking jurisdiction by any agencies. So I'll jump back into the staff report here. So this is an annexation request for one parcel totaling approximately 3.23 acres found in the vicinity of Heffron Road and Riverside. Avenue, parcel number 221-035-21443. And it's to bring the parcel into the city as a low-density residential parcel, single-family residential parcel, which is consistent with the properties surrounding it. There are utilities in the area of this parcel. And again, it would go towards a residential classification. Other than that, again, it would have to meet the R1 standards once it's brought into the city, which is attached to the staff report. I will not read through all that for the sake of everybody here. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
All right, audience members, any person in the audience wishing to be heard on this matter, please approach the microphone, state your name and address, and offer your testimony. Okay, council members, questions, comments on this item? Okay. And again, audience members, are there any other questions or anything that need to be asked on this one? All right, there being no additional comments from the public or council, let the record show this public hearing is now closed and the time is 6:51 p.m. All right. To the motion then, Mr. Deputy Mayor, if I don't have the motion written out for me the way you appear to have, so I will ask if you'd be willing to make the motion and read it correctly into the record.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
I move to approve a resolution authorizing for the annexation of parcel number 221-035-21443 with the zoning of R1 low density residential. And prior to the city council taking final action on this annexation, the notice of intention is to be completed by the planning and community development supervisor and submitted to the Yakima Boundary Review Board for a 45-day review period.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
All right, we've had the motion read into the record by Deputy Mayor Restucci, a second by Councilor Beeler. Is there debate on this item? Hearing no debate, all in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. I also vote aye, motion carries. All right. Next item then is item E, Robinson annexation public hearing.
Right, the resolution for the.
I'm sorry,
The resolution for the Rita. Right.
did we not just vote on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I was sorry. I spaced it out a little bit then. Sorry.
Okay, that's where I made my notes, Mr. Martin.
Sorry.
Yes, that's the one we just did. Okay, so we voted on that, that resolution passed. All right. All right then. And we begin a new public hearing. The public hearing is being held to receive public comments and recommendations concerning the annexation of the Robinson property. The concern is that this hearing be fair in form and substance as well as appearance. Council members, do any of you have a conflict of interest concerning this issue? Do any of you stand to gain or lose any financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this hearing? If your answer is yes, please speak now. Council members, can you hear and consider this in a fair and objective manner? If your answer is no, please speak now. Audience members, is there anyone in the audience who objects to my participation or any other council member's participation in these proceedings? If there are objections, please approach the microphone, state your name, city of residence, and state your objection. The time is now 6:54 p.m. And this hearing is open. Madam City Manager.
Again, Mr. Martin is on the table.
Mr. Martin.
No. Okay. Good evening again, City Council. Again, just briefly go over a summary and then the staff report. So on February 27th, the city of Sunnyside approved to move forward the next parts of the annexation for the subject property and forward an application onto the Yakima Boundary Review Board. The public hearing tonight is to incorporate any final comments and material into the annexation report and assign a zoning district and to the proposed annexation site and forward the recommendation onto the Yakima County Boundary Review Board. After the city council reviews and makes a decision on the annexation, a notice of annexation will be submitted to the Yakima County Boundary Review Board. And once the application is deemed complete by the BRB, the BRB chief will mail the NOI to the affected agencies, and they'll have a 45-day review period to invoke jurisdiction. So on to the staff report. So tonight we have a request from, and first and foremost, I'd like to apologize to Mr. Robinson. He called me a little bit upset, or I called him and talked to him a little bit, and he was a bit upset about the notification to his property. We sent out notice to him, and we dug around a little bit and found that the letters that were sent to him were actually returned to us, and we verified address and everything, and I don't know why they were returned to us. So if there's any question about that, I'd be happy to answer that and dig into it a little bit more. I don't know why that happened, but I would like to first and foremost apologize to Mr. Robinson for that incident. So moving on to this though. So tonight is for an annexation of approximately 21.8 acres into the city of Sunnyside with the zoning district of R1 low density. The request is for, again, 7 parcels totaling 21.8 acres. And it's in the vicinity of Clyde Circle and Alexander Road on the south side of Highway 82. The area is not necessarily served by city utilities at this time. So Mr. Robinson would have to work with the Department of Ecology and the Yakima Health District to permit any sort of septics on the site, or and drill any wells, or extend utilities to the site. The surrounding zoning classification, again, is consistent with that of single-family residential homes. Some of them in the county, and the city is to the east. And again, to save everybody here, anything that would be brought into the city would have to meet it would have to meet at minimum the R1 low density residential standards, but the health district and the Department of Ecology even have less dense standards when it comes to permitting any sort of wells or septic systems on properties. So I believe it is at minimum either a 1/4 acre or 1/2 acre that these parcels would have to meet when they're brought into the city. So I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
All right, any person in the audience wishing to be heard on this matter, and I have a list of a few of you. Please approach the microphone, state your name and address, and offer your testimony. Would you like me to read down the names so you can get a chance to see who goes first? The first one is Deborah Higginbottom.
Hi, I do have a few concerns. Traffic.
Please state your name into the microphone for the record and where you live.
On Alexander Road.
Thank you.
Alexander Road is a state highway, state 240, and speed limit, and adding that much more traffic to this area, it's already dangerous to go get your mail. And exit 69, exit 67 is horrible to get, I just don't think the infrastructure is there traffic wise to deem this as part of the city.
Okay, thank you. Mike, can you just go down the list? Antonio Santoy?
My name is Antonio Santoy. I live at 1571 Alexander Road, and I vehemently oppose this annexation. Number one, the biggest thing is the water, the sewer. And then I know it might look to bring more revenue to the city, but what happened with the monsoon addition over there? What happened to the annexation for the Astria hospital? And number three, don't forget what happened when they tried to bring in the prison back where we're at. So don't let this try to, see, oh, we got more money coming in. Don't look at that. I maybe table it for another 10 to 20 years. Maybe I'll be gone by then. But anyway, I oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next name on my list is Moises Hernandez.
Hello, my name is Moises Hernandez. I live in 1511 Alexander Road. And regarding all the concerns about traffic and about the utilities that's supposed to be, in place. Since they proposed the hospital, that Astria. So that actually, we don't know exactly what's gonna be there. It's gonna be another Aho homes, or I don't know how much density of homes is gonna be in there. So I'm opposed again to this. So
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
And the next name on my list is Efren Espinosa.
Hello, my name is Efrain Espinosa, 1551 Alexander. My concerns was how many homes were gonna be built in that property? Is it gonna be just the 7 lots, or is it gonna be additional quarter, half acres, 1 acres? That is one of the big concerns there. We don't really know what's going on as far as what's gonna get built there.
Mr. Martin, are you able to comment on that?
No, the applicant is and their representative is here tonight. At this time, this is a non-project annexation, so we don't have any subdivision tied to it. No, that we can certainly ask their representative once public comment is finished.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
my comment is, I'm just concerned, is it gonna be, manufactured homes? Is it gonna be, what's kind of infrastructure is gonna go into that area? And what's that gonna bring to the rest of us that live in that area?
All very good questions, sir. Thank you. And the last name on my list is Eric Herzog.
Hello, my name is Eric Herzog. I'm with HLA Engineering and Land Surveying. I'm a land surveyor. My address is 2803 River Road, Yakima, Washington, and I represent Mr. Robinson in developing his property. I can speak to a few of the questions that have already been asked. What Mr. Robinson is proposing are larger lots, 1 acre lots, very upscale. We've seen a real need for larger, more estate size lots in the Sunnyside area. There really isn't anything like that. Mostly we've seen Aho type housing developments, smaller lots. Frankly, if he develops in the county minimum lot or maximum lot size would be 1/4 acre lots with property left in open space. So the actual property would be denser if he developed within Yakima County. So by annexing into the city actually allows him to create larger, more estate size lots. He's currently working with the Yakima County Health Department to get a community group B well put in. And then any traffic concerns, other infrastructure concerns would be brought up through the development proposed planning process. Short plat process is what we're proposing at this point. So happy to ask or answer any questions you might have, and thank you for your time.
Okay, so we may call you back up to ask some questions. So thank you for coming forward.
Thank you.
Do we have any other audience members who wish to speak to this matter? Okay, council members, questions or comments on this item? And this, Mr. Herzog, is where you may be called back up. Mr. Farmer?
I don't know if this is the time for me to bring it up or not, but I understand where the neighbors can be very concerned. I know we've got a couple of big housing projects going up very close to my residence. I think if they're done right, they're okay. My concern is, we have let some developments go through that the traffic, I don't think was vetted out enough. The roads are overwhelmingly busy. The intersections don't work right. I would be very concerned about it. I think that if the lot size is 1 acre, I think that's ample for a septic tank. I have a septic tank where I live right now. So I'm not opposed to septic tanks, but I think that the county health board or whoever works on those or deal with those, need to take that into serious consideration. But I am more concerned about the impact of traffic, on the neighbors. I know we hear it all the time. People come in here and complaining about traffic, what traffic is going to be, and when it's gone through, and sure enough, the traffic's bad. And I don't want to put ourselves in that position where we under design stop signs, stop lights, and roads. I think that's going to be very critical. Although we're not approving anything except bringing them in, we will get to look at it again and charge and go to our to how they want to do it, and then we can look at those specific criteria that the neighbors have concerns about. So that's my thought on the situation. I think we have to be very careful with what we allow after they come in. Not just coming in, but after they come in is where the rubber's going to hit the road.
Other comments or questions? Mr. Beeler?
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned. I've never heard of county having a minimum size. You said you're going to bring this in so you could have more land per house. There's houses all over the county that have 30 acres around them. So I don't see why that would be a need to bring into the city. Is there something I'm missing?
Mr. Herzog, if you'd like to come forward, yes.
Yes, I can speak to that. Eric Herzog again. The county encourages clustering, which what they would require is to cluster lots into a maximum 1/4 acre lot size and then leave half the property in open space to be developed at a later date. So that's kind of how that would all unfold, is we'd have to cluster smaller lots together, grouping them together, and then at a later date, when public utilities became available, then more lots would be added to the area as well. Does that answer your question, sir?
Further questions or comments? So I guess like Mr. Bueller, I'm a little confused on that one as well. Because I know my mom lives on a lot that was broken off from a farm. There's another house right next to her that was put in later. She's got just under 2 acres. The neighbor has, I think, 3 acres, and that all came in later. So we see that all over the county where places have been divided into 2, 5, 7 acre lots. And then individual families live on them. And sometimes there's houses close to each other and sometimes not. But I don't quite understand how the county is saying that they're going to be 1/4 acre lots and the city can do it at 1/2 acre.
And the city can do it at smaller lots as well. We're just proposing larger lots in the city. In the county, you can't have 1 acre lots anymore. They've reduced our ability to do that. I don't know if Trevor can pull up any of the county's code, their zoning ordinance.
Well, it has to do with the underlying zoning classification, the comprehensive plan classification. And because that area is zoned urban residential, the county has certain standards on when it is proposed to be subdivided, that area is going to have to meet certain criteria that is more flexible in the city of Sunnyside.
Okay, that clarifies it.
Okay.
It's zoned in a different area than say just out there in the middle of the hills somewhere. Okay. That helps me quite a bit. Yeah, my comment on this one would be too, the city is feeling a fair amount of pressure to increase housing. We went for quite a number of years and we were fairly stagnant on housing starts, developments. And if you've been to any of the communities around the area, a lot of houses have been built, especially in Grandview. I see on the south side of Grandview, there's housing developments that have gone in and wow, it's changed the face of that into town. There's pressure on Sunnyside. There's people who want to get into nicer homes, larger homes as families grow. I know I went from a 1-bath, 3-bedroom house with 4 daughters to a house that has 3 bathrooms. And I tell you what, it was like stepping into paradise all of a sudden because there was actually one available for me once in a while. So I can understand the pressure to expand. However, as Mr. Farmer said, this is something we need to be very careful about. This is not coming to us as a proposal to build houses immediately. This is just a proposal to annex into the city with the future intention of placing homes on this land. I do know that with more homes, traffic will increase, even if it's only 7 houses. There will be an increase in traffic. There will be more people at the stop sign. There will be more people trying to make an intersection. There'll be more people trying to get on and off the freeway at those exits. So those are all things that we do have to consider. They will have to be considered eventually one way or the other. So someday it's going to have to come up if it doesn't come up soon. So that's the comments I have on it. Thank you, Mr. Herzog, for your clarification. Any more questions for Mr. Herzog while he's up here? Audience members, any questions? Nope. Okay, I would like you to come and state your name and address just so that we've got you on the record, sir.
Chuck Bridger, 1621 Alexander Road. I'm right beside your Hysteria Hospital, which didn't turn out to be a hospital, by the way. It was changed from residential to whatever, and now they're planting corn in it. So a lot of concern, and I just wonder why he's doing it. What is it for ease of sale? Because it's been for sale for a long time. And I just want to know why to turn it into the city annexation right now. Why not just wait or sell, I guess? And then the concern I have with the water, if you're digging your own well, my well is 55 feet deep. Where's all that water gonna be sucked up eventually? You know, there's homes or anything put there, right? Same as the septics. The septic runs down. They're flowing out. All that water coming out of your tanks is still not pure water. So it's going to be in the groundwater. So more houses you add and the more water you're pulling, it's got to come from somewhere, right? And Sunnyside is not going to put the sewer out there or the water, which they were going to with the hospital, right? That was the plan. I understood because I came to all the meetings. They dashed that, and that was beside a state highway. Why do they want to go that route? Why don't they put the infrastructure in then? Put the water in, do it like before. When I lived on Ellen Road, okay, down by the outpost up there, that modular place. We had the big tank, we did that, and they eventually went into the city, ran the lines, got the city sewer, got the water, and it built up. Now look at that. That housing behind there, they're building what, 12 houses? So I'm just concerned about why he's doing it to break it up like that. He could wait if you want to and sell it or develop it. So we have a plan. We don't know anything about it. We don't know. You're telling us that we don't know what's going to go on it, or how it's going to affect us. That my only concern is, how it affects us. He can make as much as he wants off it and do what he wants. It's his land. But I think he needs to let us know before you vote on something. So let us know what you're going to put it. So you're going to say, I'm going to put it in the city. What's it going to do? Sit there? I don't know. It's going to do something, right? And I want to know because I've been around long enough to find out that just because you hear something, things move pretty quick. And so I just want to make sure that if it goes in there, it's done right. The water is a concern. The septic itself, if it's not going into city stuff, then it's going to be going into the groundwater.
Okay.
Right? That's all.
All right. Thank you for your comments. And keep in mind too, everybody, tonight we're voting on an annexation. We're not voting on a construction project. So all of that's going to have to go through its process before we can develop. So,
May I say?
Madam City Manager.
I would just comment that
City Manager has the floor right here.
That's okay. I would like to comment that at our future planning retreat, if City Council will call, we have I don't remember, Shane, if you could remind me, our 5 or 10 year plan. I want to say 5-year plan to put in a new well south on Alexander Road and also do a water tower there for holding a reservoir. So that has already been discussed at a planning meeting. And we plan to extend water and sewer along that road as our industries actually come on board. So that's already been discussed in an open public meeting. It's something that's on our future planning. By the time he gets ready to fully develop, that infrastructure could be almost done or in place. So this may change as time goes by. And like Mayor said tonight, this is just about annexing the property. As soon as he starts getting into the development stage, there will be more public hearings to discuss what's going in. There will be a probably planned unit development that he'll have to go through, or something that Trevor may say, hey, this is the best way for us to go. One other thing that I would like to comment, HLA is the city's engineers. He has one of the best engineering firms I've worked with for 23 years as a city employee, and I trust them explicitly to do what's right for the city of Sunnyside.
Thank you very much. I think Mr. Robinson would like to talk about the whys. Let's let him talk.
Mr. Robinson, you have the floor. Please state your name into the microphone and your address so that it can be on the record, sir.
Clyde Robinson, 6472 Yakima Valley Highway. I purchased this ground over 30 years ago with a specific in mind of developing it. I zoned it for residential from agricultural, and county's tourism. Roughly a month after we finished the 2 short plots, the county changed the minimum from 1 acre to 2.5 acres. I could not afford. If you look at the map, you'll see that there was a paved road, about a 1/4 mile paved road, which has gone to nothing but an empty field or hay field, and we had hay in it. I invested a lot of money in that road, and the thing was sent there. And so it was with a specific idea of subdividing it. I was a builder at the time. Since had bad health. And I'd like to see this project finished before I die. We run about it. I have a 120 well on site and water to the back 6 acres, which is ample to furnish water for the rest of the houses that in phase 1 and 2. And then we have another well, proposed well, when I bought the property off Gene Means, that back 5 acres. The county made him dedicate a well site, which we have for another community well. So we 28 houses available off those 2 wells minimum. So there's more than enough water off the 2 wells, plus you got any lots, which is plenty of room for septic. Anyway, I guess that's all I've got for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can I ask you a quick question, sir, before you go sit down? How deep is your well?
The one by Alexander is 100 feet deep. And at the time we put that in, which was in the early 90s, it had 15 feet of stagnant water. So
Thank you, sir.
you're welcome.
All right, further questions, council?
I do. This will be. What zoning will this thing be annexed in as?
R1, single family residence.
So if we approve the annexation, it's going to come in as R1?
Further questions, comments?
And it's zoned right now in the county as an R1.
It's urban residential, which is effectively the same as our R1. Yeah.
Closest thing to it.
Mhm.
Okay. So we've heard the audience, we've heard council. Are there any further comments? All right, public hearing is closed at 7:20 p.m. All right, item F then is consider approving a resolution to begin the annexation of the Robinson property. Council members, what is your desire on this item?
Mr. Mayor, do you want me to make the motion?
If you would, sir, read the motion in its correct form, I would greatly appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. I move to approve a resolution authorizing for the annexation of parcel numbers 231-031-34401, -34402, -34405, -34406, -34407, -34408, and 43401 with the zoning of R1 low density residential. And prior to the city council taking final action on this annexation, the notice of intention is to be completed by the planning and community development supervisor and submitted to the Yakima Boundary Review Board for a 45-day review period.
Thank you, sir.
I would kind of like to know the process. If it is annexed in, the next process that the Robinsons will have to go through in order, or the steps in the process, the Anderson,
Mr. Farmer,
the Robinson.
can we hold that thought? We have a motion, but we don't have a second. If we don't have a second, the motion dies.
I will second.
Okay, we have a second by Mr. Hicks. Mr. Farmer, now your question, what is the next step?
What will be the steps that the Robinsons will have to go through before they can break ground?
Well, they break ground, yes. So if this property is brought into the city, the next thing that we will probably do is meet together with the development services group, which would be Mr. Fisher, other public works members, our engineer. We'll discuss the application itself, talk about any sort of needs for infrastructure, look at what's in the area, communicate that back to Mr. Robinson and his representative. And then depending on the number of lots, it will either be a short plat or a long plat. Long plats or something else. It could be hypothetically something else. Long plats require that's 10 or more lots. They require a hearing in front of the planning commission and city council. And short plats, they're an administrative public notice, but it's 9 or fewer lots. It's an administrative process. So it's processed internally by staff, but there's a public notice that still goes out with it. We do during the DST comment period, we do look at things like traffic. We do our internal concurrency analysis. So we look at traffic capacity and kind of make recommendations off of that. And then as we go forward, say after either a long plat or a short plat decision is issued, then there's a certain criteria that the builder has to put in place. So there's curb gutter sidewalks, road improvements, utility improvements. There could be potentially signalization improvements. There's a lot of things depending on the scope of the project, the amount of traffic generated. So I can't say completely at this time, but there would be some right-of-way improvements that came along with this into the site. So that's guaranteed, yeah.
What about a SEPA?
So that can vary. And a long plat, you have to do a SEPA. With a short plat, you don't necessarily have to do a SEPA. And a SEPA is our State Environmental Policy Act review. Typically, if we do send this out for comments, we might get comments back from the health district asking about wells on site and septic fields on site, and then they may ask us to do something like a SEPA. So we may do an additional notification where we send out SEPA and other agencies get to comment, and we take that extra SEPA protocol. So that's not necessarily, but it's something that often comes up during a subdivision process.
Okay, we have asked in the past that developers do those street and gutter and sidewalk modifications, and they've complied. We are concerned about traffic. And as has been mentioned, this is a highway, this is Highway 241, and it is a busy road. I drive on it several times a week. So I contribute to that busyness, and I know how some of those intersections are. I drive it because I don't like to get off and try to make a left turn at either of our freeway interchanges. I like to make a right turn because I can actually, get out on the road. So I understand the concerns of people. So that's something I want to make sure that we do handle and handle correctly, is the traffic issue. And I mean, if it's dangerous for adults to go out and get mail, is this going to be a risk for children and pets and that sort of stuff? So we need to be thinking about this as well. All right, further debate on this item, Mr. Wheeler.
The long plots will be basically doing this same thing for each step until they build it, but the short plots, that's just done through you guys. What about the 300 feet neighbors on a short plot? Will they have any say so in it?
Yeah, so I send out notice, and I give them my phone number, my email. I give them a time frame on when the city is looking for comments. I encourage anybody to send me comments. I put them in the staff report. I say any sort of staff responses. I reference where you can find. If they bring up something that's a good idea, I'll reference where they can find that in the staff report. If I receive any comments. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir. Further comments, Mr. Hicks?
Tonight, we're only taking this plot of land and moving it to the city. We're not planning any of that yet. But yeah, I do agree. That's something that definitely needs to be looked at. Traffic. So utilities and traffic were the biggest concerns on this.
Mm-hmm. No, and they're all valid concerns, and they definitely have to come up during the public hearing process with the planning commission and also with council again when the project is being proposed. So all of you who are here this evening, I encourage you to stay tuned in on what's going on to make sure that your voices are constantly heard, because your concerns are valid concerns. Any debate on this item? All right, we've got a motion on the floor. All in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. I also vote aye. The motion carries. But Mr. Robinson, you've got some work to do to get this all prepared. You've got some concerned neighbors. And I'd ask that you be a good neighbor to them, sir. All right, our next public hearing is the 2024 to 2029 6-year Transportation Improvement Program. Give me a second to get to the right page. All right, this public hearing is being held to receive public comments and I'll give you guys a second to get out if you're not willing to stay here for the next one. Okay, this public hearing is being held to receive public comments and recommendations concerning the 2023 to 2028 6-year Transportation Improvement Program. The concern is that this hearing be fair in form and substance as well as appearance. Council members, do any of you have a conflict of interest concerning this issue? Do any of you stand to gain or lose any financial benefit as a result of the outcome of this hearing? If your answer is yes, please speak now. Council members, can you hear and consider this in a fair and objective manner? If your answer is no, please speak now. Audience members, is there anyone in the audience who objects to my participation or any other council member's participation in these proceedings? If there are objections, please approach the microphone, state your name and city of residence, and state your objection. All right, the time is 7:29. And this public hearing is now open.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm sitting, Mr. Restucci, yes.
Yes, sir. As always, Mr. Mayor, as chair of the Yakima Valley Transportation Policy Board, I'm a signatory on this document. Just want to make sure that that people are aware of that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Madam City Manager.
I will turn this over to Mr. Fisher for the staff report.
Mr. Fisher.
City Manager, Mayor, members of council. First of all, we need to make clarification. There's a couple of these documents I didn't upload correctly, and you read in the 23 to 28 6 years, actually the 24 to 29. So we kind of have a mix of documents here. That's my fault.
Okay.
I apologize.
Thank you for making that clear, sir.
So every year we bring this obviously before you guys, obviously to get comment and feedback from council and from the citizens. This is basically the same plan we brought forward. We have a couple of edits. Obviously, the YVH highway resurfacing project will be removed from the 24 to 29 because that's the next agenda item. We're going to be awarding that bid, hopefully. And then we had one addition to the 24 to 29, which is the intersection of South Sixth and Lincoln. That's this old span wire intersection. We're going to get rid of that, put a new signal in, ADA, transition plan, all that stuff. So that's really the only difference on the 6-year tip. And with that, I can take any questions or comments.
All right. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to be heard on this matter? If so, please approach the microphone, state your name and address, and offer testimony. Okay, council members, any questions or comments on this item?
Anything that would help the traffic there is a world of money well spent.
You're talking about 6th and Lincoln?
5th and Lincoln.
That's bad.
Yeah. Anyone else?
How long have we been doing this 6-year plan? This is,
Well, I don't know. Deputy Mayor might be able to speak to that better than me, but we've been doing it for the 18 years I've been here. So, and every year we update it. That's part of our, in order for us to stay eligible for funding, which is why you see these projects, some come, some go. When they're funded, obviously they drop off the list. But that's all really based on, and these are all federally classified roads. So these are the major and minor arterials, Edison, Lincoln, YVH, 16th, 9th, 6th and 1st. Those are the big ones. And we don't do neighborhoods with these. These are only those larger roads. And basically what we do is every year we bring them to you. We update. I sit down with HLA. We update the years. We kind of bump everything out for when we're going to engineer them, and then when we're going to construct them. And that's all just kind of a pie in the sky hope that we're going to get funding. So nothing's really set in stone. I don't know if the deputy mayor can speak to how long these 6-year transportation programs have been in place.
Mr. Rasucci, you have any ideas on that?
I don't have an idea, but I can tell you that I've done them as long as Shane has talked about it. Going back to 2003 when I joined COG, we were actively involved in this, and the 6-year transportation improvement plans were, being done by all the cities in the valley. So I'm assuming this is probably part of state law when it comes to the creation of the MPO or the RTPO. But Shane, you can tell me if I'm out there or not.
That's pretty accurate. I think that's when those metropolitan and rural transportation planning organizations come in, which is how we get funding. We all share in these MPO and RTPO, those through YVCOG and the TAC, which is the Technical Advisory Committee. I think Elizabeth still, is the vice chair of that committee. We all kind of have to share in the funding. So we all take turns doing our projects. There's kind of a little bit of jockeying for position, who's ready, who isn't. We have a limited pot of money we use for transportation, but our county and our group and committees have done a great job. These guys are going to Washington, DC, and they're pretty blown away about how we're able to just maximize our dollars. And we all take turns in the valley getting our projects done. So it's pretty impressive.
And if we don't have our projects properly planned and ready to go, we're not next on the list.
and they'll never get done. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? All right, there not being any additional comments from the public or council, let the record show this public hearing is now closed. The time is 7:34 p.m. Give me a second to get to the right page. All right. So having heard the public hearing on the 6-year transportation plan, what is council's desire on the 6-year transportation improvement program? And Mr. Rasucci, if you have a properly worded motion, I would be happy to hear you read it.
Actually, there isn't one that's been provided, Mr. Mayor, but I would move that we approve the 6-year transportation improvement plan for the city of Sunnyside.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion by Deputy Mayor Stucci, second by Councillor Hicks to approve the 6-year transportation improvement program. Any debate on this item? Hearing none. All in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I also vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you. I always look forward to seeing our streets improved. Even though people are not believing me when I say that they actually have an earlier finish date for the one on North Sixth Street. There is some skepticism in the air on that one. All right, item I, Yakima Valley Highway Overlay Project. Consider authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Central Washington Asphalt Incorporated of Moses Lake, Washington for the Yakima Valley Highway Overlay Project in the amount of $337,000. Madam City Manager.
I will turn this over to Mr. Fisher for staff report.
Mr. Fisher.
City manager. So we went out to bid. We opened bids on June 22nd of this year, received 4 bids. Engineer's estimate came in at roughly about 425,000. And just to kind of explain, because the bids that came in about 337, it's substantially lower than the engineer's estimate. Engineer's estimates, you might ask, is why is that so much higher? We kind of look at kind of the climate of bidding at the time. And where different projects come in. HLA does a lot of these transportation. I think they represent everybody in the valley. So they generally have a pretty good sense of where bids are going to come in. But when you don't know until you open them. So we're about 90,000 below the engineer's estimate, which is outstanding. Great bid, great contractor. We've Central Washington Asphalt. We've done many projects with them. They do a great job and we're expecting another perfect job from them. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Fisher?
Does oil and fuel price have a lot to do with it?
It does a little bit. I mean, you would think with gas prices where they are now, especially since they're out of Moses Lake, but these projects are really pretty simple. It's only a couple of days to grind it out and another couple of days to put it back down. A little bit of prep in between, but
The asphalt itself takes a lot of oil.
yes. Yes, and it depends on if you're making your own asphalt or you buying asphalt. So it just kind of depends. Some people's operating costs are higher than others at an asphalt plant. So they all kind of take turns. It's interesting how one company will get it one time and the next time it's another company. They all kind of seem to share in it. It's interesting.
Other questions or comments? For my part, it's another project I'm looking forward to seeing done. Anything that improves our streets in Sunnyside makes me happy. All right, with no other comments, what is the desire of council on this item?
Make a motion to accept the bid as presented and authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Central Washington Asphalt to overlay Yakima Valley Highway in the amount of $337,000.
$337,000. Yes, sir.
Second.
All right, we got a motion by Councilor Beeler, second by Deputy Mayor Stucci to authorize the city manager to execute the contract as read by Mr. Beeler. So debate on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. I also vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item J, comprehensive plan development regulations. Consider approving an ordinance adopting the final ordinance necessary for the city of Sunnyside to be current with the state of Washington GMA development standards. Madam City Manager.
Mr. Martin, would you please give the staff report?
Mr. Martin.
Absolutely. So good evening once again. So the city council adopted the 2022 comprehensive plan on March 28th, the critical areas ordinance on February 22nd, 2016. So this resolution is the final piece, kind of putting these two items together that the Washington State Department of Commerce needs in order to be current with our GMA standards. This will put us back into good standing when it comes to grants and applying for necessary programming throughout the state. So this ordinance essentially says that we've taken the necessary steps to update our development regulations, our comprehensive plan, and our critical areas ordinance, and we're finalizing it. And I'll present it to you Department of Commerce, here you go. And they'll go, okay, I'm glad the city did this. You get to do it again in 2 years. So. So that's all I have, is just finalizing that and making sure that the city's current with our GMA standards.
Okay, council, questions or comments for Mr. Martin? I know you put a lot of work into this, sir, and you're ready to be done with this. It's very obviously in the way that is presented in the agenda, the final ordinance necessary for the city of Sunnyside. So. All right, if there's no questions or comments on this, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to adopt the ordinance.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Counselor Bueller, second by Counselor Hicks to adopt the comprehensive plan ordinance as presented. Debate on this item?
If I may interrupt, I believe it's a resolution and not an ordinance. Is that correct?
Let me look at this. It is an ordinance. I am corrected here. Thank you.
It's a resolution.
It says ordinance on the document. I'm sorry.
I know. Is it an ordinance? Okay.
It should be even an ordinance.
It said in the body resolution and in the bottom ordinance. I just wanted to make sure we were passing the right one.
Supposed to be an ordinance.
Okay,
It is.
There we go.
Okay, so it was read correctly. Thank you for
good.
that.
I just wanted to make sure because I see two different things and I just want to make sure we're on the right page.
Thank you for catching that. All right, debate on this item? All right, back to the vote. All in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. I also vote aye. Motion carries. Item K has been pulled. We're in item 5, items from council member, mayor's appointments for boards and commissions. We have one vacancy for Community and Economic Development Committee. We have one vacancy for the Finance Subcommittee. And we to schedule a Finance Subcommittee meeting coming up, so we will take care of that. I have been on vacation for the last week and a half, and so therefore I have not spoken with anybody, haven't seen any applications because I have been literally out of town. So if the clerk has anything, I haven't really sat down and talked with her yet either, so we'll move.
I have a recommendation to you, Mayor, and to council. I was thinking in order to lift the load a little bit better for yourself, that we move this to the Rules Committee, which you do serve on. And it would be you, Deputy Mayor, and then one other council person. And then that way it would be able to give other people time to review applications. And so I'm just putting the seed out there for you to think about it.
Mm.
And then that way they could, have a panel, you could have interviews and you would have 3 people making a decision on who goes on boards. That way, no one is saying, oh, well, Mayor Broersma, you did this. It would be 3 people from council. So that's just something to put a little, think about it, council, in your head, and think about it, Mayor.
It is certainly worth considering and make maybe a slightly smaller target on the back of my head, so.
Agreed.
All right, I will definitely, and I will talk with you a little more about that. That sounds like a good idea. Okay, and we were trying to schedule a finance subcommittee meeting on July 17 or 18, and
We'll have to postpone until we know the status of Jameson and where she's at. So
right.
We'll give you an update as soon as we have that and we know where we're at.
Okay, so when you're a little further along that, would Jackie be able to send out an email to the members of the finance subcommittee and
we were still missing a position that was held by Julia Hart.
yes.
Currently, it's Counselor Hicks and Counselor Beeler, and then the vacancy.
Which I have been stepping in until we find somebody to do that stuff, so. If we haven't found anybody yet, that'll be me. All right, so if anybody knows of anybody who is anxious to serve in this vacancy on the Community and Economic and Development Committee, please contact me. And if any council member wants to volunteer to serve on the Finance Subcommittee, I'd be happy to talk with you. All right, item B, council request status report. Madam City Manager.
And I think there's very few items on this water tower. Shane, do you have an update? Mr. Fisher, I
Yeah,
apologize.
real quick, and me and Elizabeth, sorry, the city manager did not talk about this. So I'm kind of improvising right now. So I met with HLA we talked about going to bid on the water tower. We need to get our logo figured out. I didn't realize that because we're kind of in the midst of kind of maybe looking at changing our logo. And so that was kind of important to know what the logo looked like exactly and before we go out to bid. So just kind of putting that in your ear, and obviously I'll be working with Elizabeth and we'll.
And the plan was not to put the logo on there. I'll talk to you more about it later.
Sorry to sidebar that.
That's okay.
Talk about that later.
So obviously staff will communicate and we will probably be bringing something back for you to approve as per what the design is, because I don't want anything on there that you guys wouldn't actually like. So
I'd like to get some community feedback on that too, I think.
yeah, maybe it's time the Arts Commission was held and they could weigh in on that. We've had trouble getting Arts Commission members to actually to a meeting, so that would be one that we would need to get. Noise ordinance, Mr. Martin, would you like to?
I have an update.
Yeah, I think you've been working on that.
No, there's some other stuff right now.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk with the police chief about that because noise ordinance outside of normal or regular business hours is enforced by PD. So we're gonna have to kind of strategize a little bit.
And that may be something we bring Public Safety Committee forward on. And then code enforcement, would you like to pass out cards?
Passed out some to some others. But I have.
So our OpenGov platform is on, ready to go. And staff has created, well, Trevor created these nice cards so that when someone comes up to you and says, I want to complain about anything that's code enforcement, you can hand them this card and they can scan the QR code and they can do their complaint right online. They can attach photos. And then it goes into our database. The person that has created this then also gets a login and they can go in and track the case, look and see what code enforcement has done on it, when it was actually read and reviewed, and then a final outcome. So this will make it easier, number one, on you, because you can just hand the citizen a card and then put the onus on them of making the report. And then they get the opportunity to go back in and you know, basically track it. One other thing on this, we want you to hand these cards out like candy. Yes.
You come back and get more.
A citizen fills out one and sends it in, they stay anonymous, correct?
We can. There's a
lot of retribution in this town.
Yeah, no, this is staff internal only, and that's why it's a portal, and they have to actually create a secure login. And then staff has secure logins, and already now when we get reports, even if it's a phone call, even if it's an email, we do not tell anyone, oh yeah, your neighbor called, because we know what conflict that costs. So our staff is very well trained in knowing that we shouldn't be disclosing where our information came from.
Right now, the policy is everybody remains anonymous on code enforcement unless requested to go public. That is our policy. So
Has anybody ever requested to go?
No.
no.
Yeah, we know our town.
And then fireworks ordinance, I haven't had a chance to touch base with Chief Lehman. He was actually gone on vacation for some time, and I really do want to follow up with him on how many reports, but when he comes the next time, I'll ask him to do an update on how the results were this year, how many calls, and how the overall feel he got for the 4th of July. We know at my house, which is not inside city limits, I will pre-qualify, but it is in the urban growth area. We witnessed quite a few aerials on the hill. The city's display was beautiful. My neighbors was better. Like I've said many times, that I just like to stay home and make sure the dogs don't run away. And there was multiple nights. We started hearing fireworks probably 5 days before, for the weekend before, and heard them for probably 2 days afterwards. So we know this is going to be an issue we need to tackle. Hopefully, when we're fully staffed at the fire department, we have the ability to start working on that. So that's where this is going to kind of sit until we're back to full staffing.
I went to the city display. It was really nice, but the side displays were really nice too.
I know. I have a view of the hill. I can watch the city display, and then, like I said, my neighbors that just blow you away. And I think that's it on that report.
Okay. Other reports, announcements, and or questions by council? And again, we'll start with Mr. Beeler.
I have nothing to report.
All right, Mr. Hicks,
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Farmer,
I have nothing.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
All right, well, I have a couple of things. Number one, while I was on vacation, I did attempt to watch the demonstration on the drones as it was live streamed. And both my wife and I found it extremely interesting and entertaining. We enjoyed that very much. Wish we could have been there in person, but yet I had 7 grandkids I was playing with, so they won hands down. But I think that's cool that we were able to demonstrate that to the community. I know there probably wasn't a huge number of people there, but still getting that information out there, what we're capable of doing with those drones, how they can help in public safety, how they can help the officers do their job. And how they've been used in the past, how they were used at Cinco de Mayo. I think that was an excellent use of that material. And so that was awesome. When I came home, interesting with the fireworks, I had 4 or 5 people tell me that fireworks were not nearly as bad with complaints or that they didn't hear from years past. They didn't start a month ahead of time. They didn't continue, forever afterwards. It was just a couple of days. I did have one person who called and just gave me an earful about how awful it was. So apparently in some parts of town, it was really bad. In other parts of the town, it was not nearly as bad. So I'm choosing the optimistic route here and saying that perhaps some people were a little more careful. And maybe they didn't start quite so early. I know on the 4th of July, it's almost impossible for people to resist the temptation to just light a bunch off. And it can be really entertaining. Usually when I'm in town after the city display, I'll go sit on my deck and just watch across the valley. And it's a beautiful show. But boy, do we have to be careful for fires. And I was watching the fires as I was gone as well. And I was concerned. So I'm glad there wasn't any more that happened. But other than that, I really don't have an awful lot.
Mr. Mayor, I had forgotten all about it, but I attended the open house or whatever you want to call it. I was impressed. I think the police department did an excellent job. It's too bad more community members weren't there to witness what we have and what our police department has and what the capabilities they have now with the cameras and the drone and stuff. I was thoroughly impressed and I just wanted to mention that they did a great job.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next item is upcoming council meetings. Madam City Manager.
I will ask the city clerk Renteria to present this item.
Ms. Renteria.
On July 24th for the regular meeting, we have SMC 2.02.020 update schedule of fees and charges and budget amendment number 2. Also, the classification and compensation schedule adjustment for union contracts and new positions approved. We also have the 2 items that were on the workshop, and we'll see. I'll talk to staff and see when they want to put those in to present them again. Other than that, that's it for the next few months. And things always come up last minute, so we'll be putting those on too.
And a reminder to council members, if you have an item that needs to be added to the agenda, you may either speak to me or the city manager to get those items added. And please do so as soon as possible so we can get them on the earliest possible agenda. The next item is items from department heads. Madam City Manager.
So since we have a few department heads here tonight, I am going to go first. I usually let them go first, but I thought I would give you an update on a few things. First of all, we're starting adopt a planter program for the downtown planters. So I'm trying to heavily advertise that we want businesses, organizations, and whoever would like to sign up to basically redesign a planter. The planters are overgrown. They have some plants in them that are unattractive. And so what the job of the person that adopts it would be is completely change the landscaping, if that's what they desire, and then upkeep it for the rest of the summer. There is no cost to you except for whatever you put in as plants. So you get to design it, you get to pick it, and then just maintain it over the summer. We have had 2 businesses already come forward to do that. And our police department wants to do 3 planters. I'm going to do a planter as the city of Sunnyside. I've spoken to Rotary, they were interested, but would need to vote on it. And I think this is a way for people to get their names out. You will get a plaque that says sponsored by and able to put that in the planter itself. And so if anyone's interested in that, we have a flyer on our website. And then you'll notice that our new reader board went live here a few weeks ago. We do have space on that for city advertising. So if there's something that you think that is coming up that's related to the city, just say, hey, that needs to go on the reader board. We'll make sure we get that taken care of. Coming up events, we have National Night Out, and there will be 2 block parties on the actual night of National Night Out. Those will be private block parties. We'll get you the address area for neighborhoods. And then there also will be open swim at the free swim, basically at the swimming pool that night. And we're still working on it, but possibly fireworks in the park or a movie in the park. And then August 4th, I believe it's a Friday. I'm not sure. Maybe it's the 5th. I'd need to look at my flyer. But that is the night of National Night Out at the South Hill Park. And we have a lot of exciting stuff coming that night. The Army's bringing their helicopters so the kids can get their picture taken with it. Again, we'll have the dunk tank and lots of vendor booths for businesses to give out information. Natural fish and natural wildlife is bringing their simulator again. So they'll be able to do their gun simulator. I don't know if anyone did that. I wasn't here last year, but I'm going to make sure I'm here this year so that I can enjoy everything. And then we'll have ice creams and hot dogs free for everybody until they run out. And then we're scheduling in September. We're still working with staff, our second community forum. And this time, I think the topic should be Government 101. I have a lot of people that do not understand exactly how the government really works and don't understand, the different pots of money we have and how we can't mix what we get from your water bill with the police budget and so on. So I think I want to set it up kind of like little TED Talks where staff has already recorded a video and kind of given their thing, but then they're also sitting in their station able to answer questions after this TED Talk goes through. So this is something staff is going to be working on before September. And then hopefully if Jameson is back in the next few weeks, we'll be looking to do budget kickoff and then giving you your 6-month budget reports. So just so you know, we've got kind of a lot of things that are going to start coming your way. But I really think the Government 101 is a good way for citizens to be able to come and say, well, what does the city clerk do? What's her role? What's the city manager's role? I mean, what am I in charge of? And just ask those questions and then ask budget questions, because I think a lot of times people read a section of the budget, but they don't understand the entire part of it. And I think as council members, you do, but you've had to learn on the job. A lot of you, your first day probably were deer in the headlights a tiny bit, like, wow, what are we doing here? So that's going to be the topic in September once we find the final date. And we have, Jackie did a really good job of creating a calendar for September and putting in the school board meetings so that we don't pick that night, and putting in other meetings so that we're not on a planning commission night, not on somewhere where we have a heavy commitment. And also, luckily, the Cal Ripken season is over, so we won't be overlapping with the Cal Ripken 2 games, which was quite fun. And that's all I have. Jackie?
So with LTAC, the city of Sunnyside is soliciting written proposals for the use of lodging fund dollars to develop, promote, and or enhance tourism. Those applications are due Wednesday, July 26th at 4 p.m. So if you know of any groups or anyone wanting to do something with tourism funds, let them know that the applications will be due July 26th. The committee will be receiving them all year, but these will be taking priority. Anything else they'll take into consideration. Then we'll also bring it to you for the final approval. So that's what's going on with us.
Mr. Riley, do you have anything to report?
Not at this time, unless anyone has any questions. I will say this, that the city's done an excellent job of asking before they do things sometimes. A lot more so than other municipalities we've worked with in the past, and they're all valid questions and they're being handled very well. So.
Thank you. And we will, just a side note, we will be rescheduling an annual kind of review. So the city attorney can ask me questions and we can do an open dialogue communication on what we're doing well and then what we're not so well, areas that we could improve. And I have to say that it has been night and day from our previous city attorney. We can call Ben and say, hey, Ben, I just have a really quick question. Can you answer this? And he's like, yes, I have it right now, or no, call me back, or I'll call you back. And that's been invaluable because oftentimes we just don't know for sure if we're giving the right answer. So we want to make sure that we're always on the legal side of our city. So
Commend that.
yes. Okay, Mr. Martin.
Just a few things, with election season coming up, I've had some fun conversations with everybody about where to put your signs, how to put your signs, not to block traffic, how high to put them, so on and so forth. So I'm hoping that everybody's on the same page, but if you have anybody that has any questions, please direct them towards me. I'm happy to talk to anybody about their signs. So number two is text amendments, comp plan amendments are out, which is just a whole slew, the notification, I should say, that the text amendment notification are out right now. There's a bunch of text amendments that have been proposed along with the comp plan designation change and the proposed rezone for the Munson site. So that's out for notice this week. We have a couple of properties that hopefully, fingers crossed, that have been some code compliance nuisances. Those should be hopefully wrapping up pretty soon here. I'm looking forward to that. So they've been out there for a little bit. And then tomorrow with the Community and Economic Development Commission, we are reviewing our final packet for the revolving loan fund. So we'll be going over that. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to bring it to, we'll finalize everything and be able to bring it to council. Probably not your next meeting, but the following meeting. So that's all I have.
Mr. Fisher.
Yeah, quick update on the Sixth Street project. They're planting trees. I think they got about 3/4 of them done. A little nervous about that, but they said they would keep them alive through this heat, but I have my reservations. Any trees that do die, they will replace them. We got that in writing. And then there won't be any planter boxes. I think we've shared that just to kind of dovetail on what the city manager was saying. We're just doing tree line boulevard with the same street lights and pedestrian lights, but no planter boxes. The landscaping of the post office is finally done. John was able to get over there, kind of work with the fire department. The port's the one that laid the rock. John came in, Van Wegerden, and did the plantings. And so, yeah. Oh, and then on the reader board, they are going to fly their drone on the 15th. So John Van Wegerden is coming in. He's going to landscape around the monument sign. They're going to fly it for part of their advertising for future signs and for other jurisdictions. And that's all I have.
And would you mind commenting on janitorial?
Oh, to what depth?
Very, very high level.
So we're, we canceled our contract with our janitorial service. There was, some theft that took place, that we're certain of. And so we canceled their contract. Right now, we're all kind of doing our own areas. And we'll be working with the city manager to figure out, do we want to do back to a third party vendor doing janitorial? Or is it something we want to handle in-house where we have more control and oversight of what happens in all of our facilities as opposed to kind of just, not knowing what happens with a third party vendor doing it. So we'll bring that to you in a future meeting.
As I recall, they started out really well.
Yes.
They all seem to start out really well and then they go downhill from there. That's been our experience. And really, I'm leaning towards having this be a city employee because we can tell them when they're in the building and we can do our vetting. And honestly, I'd feel more comfortable with someone not taking all my candy off my desk.
It takes me a couple of weeks to get through it. That's all.
All right, anything else?
I think we're good.
All right, just want to make one comment. I had somebody make a complaint to me about a damaged campaign sign. I personally don't care who you vote for as long as you do and you participate in it, but it is illegal to damage campaign signs. And so there's penalties for that if you are caught. Please do not do that. And I know somebody made a report to the Sunnyside Sun over that. But yeah, just going on the record and saying, please do not damage other candidates' campaign signs. That is not your right. You
Take them. I'm missing 5 already.
or take them down. Yes, that is also illegal. So be cautious about that. I know the audience has got up and left already, but still it needed to be said and it's on the record. So Mr. Lindian already knows. All right. There being no further business to come before council this evening, and without objection, I adjourn this meeting at 8:06 PM. Thank you, everybody, and have a great night.